Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation in Spain. Day 139 of the current situation, and today it's all about the economy and the record slump that the Spanish economy has experienced in the second quarter of the year. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. A big thanks to people that supported the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks, as always, to my patrons on Patreon for your continued support. Now, let's get into some of the news that has caught my attention. And as I said, it's all about the economy and the record slump that the Spanish economy has suffered. As we can see here, Spain's economy slumps 18.5% due to the pandemic. Spain's economy suffered a historic decline in the second quarter as the coronavirus pandemic and lockdown measures imposed to contain its spread hit the economy. The Eurozone's fourth biggest economy contracted 18.5% during the second quarter after a 5.2% decline in the first quarter, the Spanish statistics agency INE said on Friday in a first estimate for the period. Economists polled by the Wall Street Journal had forecast a 15% contraction. So an 18.5% contraction to the Spanish economy in that second quarter. Add that to the 5.2% contraction in the first quarter, and a massive hit to the economy in the first half of the year. This is a trend worldwide. We saw figures in the USA yesterday and other countries around the world releasing second quarter economy figures, but Spain's economy crashing to levels that have never been seen before. Now, we've mentioned on numerous occasions how important the tourist industry is in Spain, something like 13% of the economy nationally, and of course in certain areas it can get up to 30% of the economy in places like, for example, the Canary Islands. And we've seen over the last week or so that various countries are warning their citizens against coming to Spain, and of course that is also leading to a disastrous summer for the tourist sector in Spain. We can see here that the UK quarantine decision has destroyed Benidorm, and that's 200 million euros less to that local economy. 5 days after the announcement of the UK's quarantine, the forecasts of the economic collapse that the hoteliers of Benidorm were envisioning have taken shape in the form of figures. So we're starting to get an idea of the impact on this quarantine in figures and statistics. And as we can see, Benidorm, one of the main areas affected by that UK decision. Because as I said the other day, the UK is a very important market for Spain, and something like 18 million people visit Spain every year from the United Kingdom. The other day I said a few million, but people were quick to pick me up on that and put the figure at around 18 million. So lots and lots of potential tourists lost. And on the topic of Benidorm, the mayor of that particular city has come out and said that in Benidorm you are safer than in the United Kingdom itself. Again, adding to that conversation that we started the other day of where people feel safer. Do you feel safer in Spain, or do you feel safer in the United Kingdom? And of course, the mayor coming out, as you would expect, and saying that Benidorm is a safer location. But the quarantine is in place, and there's not much the mayor of Benidorm can do about it. At least for the time being, at least, because we know the Spanish government is trying to negotiate with the United Kingdom in order to get the quarantine restrictions eased. We can see here that Spain's tourism minister says that the UK will respond in 10 days to see if it lowers the quarantine of travellers from Spain. Negotiations with the British government remain stagnant, and there is no immediate response on quarantine reduction. So Spain working overtime to get that quarantine lifted. However, in a YouGov poll, we can see that most Britons support the Spain quarantine. The majority of Britons agree with the government's decision to reinstate quarantine restrictions on arrival from Spain, with 84% expressing support for the decision according to a new YouGov poll. Just 31% of those surveyed believe more warning should have been given before the sudden announcement last Saturday, while 56% said that they remain unsympathetic towards those who have already departed for their Spanish holidays. So 56% of people polled showing no sympathy for people that have already taken their holidays and are going to have to go into quarantine. Now let's have a look at an update of the health situation in Spain. We can see here that the health department has reported 1,229 new cases of COVID, and it's the highest daily figure since the end of the alarm. The community of Madrid has quadrupled its incidence of cases in 2 weeks, with the south and the northeast areas of the region the most affected. The Madrid community is now the second region in Spain behind Aragon, with the most cases detected in the last 24 hours, that being 225. And we'll have a look here at a graph of diagnosed cases, and we can see here that the 30th of July, 1,229 cases as reported previously. And the Chief Health Officer, Fernando Simon, has come out and said about these figures that if this is a second wave, it does not seem so. So Mr. Simon there refuting claims made by others, Boris Johnson included, that said that Europe and Spain in particular was experiencing a second wave of the virus. Now, on the subject of exactly who can we believe at the moment, there has been a bit of controversy over the last couple of days in Spain. I mentioned a couple of months ago that the Spanish government put together a committee of experts in order to deal with the de-escalation phase, in order to roll that phase out in the different communities in Spain. However, it has now come to light that no such committee existed. And we can see here that Mr. Illa has admitted that there was no committee for the de-escalation, and the opposition has accused him of kidding or fooling the Spanish population. The political parties PP, Ciudadanos and UPN have asked for explanations from the health minister, Mr. Illa, about the non-existent committee of experts in which the government used to justify the decisions taken during the pandemic. The opposition has branded the government's lie as teasing and an alibi to present as scientific decisions what were merely only political decisions, and has considered the current state of the country as chaotic. Now, I'm going to say that this is not the first time that the Pedro Sanchez government has blatantly lied to the Spanish population. I remember, I think last year, Pedro Sanchez came out and said that he could never form a coalition with a party like Podemos. He said that he wouldn't be able to sleep at night if Pablo Iglesias was in the government. And a few months later, of course, that coalition was formed. And of course, now with this committee of experts that everybody thought the government was going to put together in order to deal with the pandemic from a scientific point of view and to take decisions based on the ideas of these so-called experts, and now we see that that also was a blatant lie. So again, who can we trust? Now, we all know that face masks have become a fashion accessory in countries like Spain and other countries around the world at the moment. We can see here now that scientists in Portugal have created a reusable masks that disables the virus upon contact with fabric. And a Spaniard has also created an intelligent mask capable of disinfecting itself and locating the foci of COVID-19. And we can see that it's quite a stylish model, obviously showing the mouth area there so you can see if people are smiling. And of course, as we saw, this mask is capable of disinfecting itself and actually locating where the virus is. So Spanish and Portuguese mask makers taking it to a whole new level. Now, let's have a look at some of the comments from the last video. One here from Keith. Hi Stuart, is there any details about traveling to Santander, then to Ondon de los Nieves by our own transport? I can't find any info about our traveling by road restrictions. Yeah, Keith, thanks for the comment. I suppose that you're coming to Santander by ferry and then planning to go to that other part of the world by car. Now, as far as I know, there are no restrictions traveling on Spanish roads at the moment on the motorways. All motorways are open. You should have no trouble. To travel from Santander to Alicante. Remember that there have been some lockdowns in particular areas, but of course they have been localized to smaller towns or regions, but there's only restrictions if you go in and out of those particular areas. If you take a motorway that happens to go by one of those areas, there's no problems there, but perhaps you're not going to be able to get off the motorway if you wanted to in one of those lockdown areas. So at the moment, you shouldn't have any trouble getting to your destination. One here from Natalia. I felt safe in Spain in July, but when you are traveling from Norway and coming back, it's almost scary to say that you have been to Spain. Like I must feel shame that I was there. People call us selfish idiots here. Yeah, Natalia, thanks for the comment. That's one of the problems that we have, of course. Spain is getting a very bad reputation internationally. It's in all the press for the wrong reasons. And of course, as we saw, the bumbling government and some of the lies or the falsehoods that the government has been telling us, obviously not doing anything for their credibility. So I can understand that people have this idea about Spain and people traveling to it, that perhaps it's not a good idea. But as you know, you were there, you felt safe. So that's the most important thing. But you can't change people's minds. One from Amanda. Hi Stuart, as always, great information. I'm in the UK and love Spain, both mainland and Canaries. I can understand our government being cautious of mainland Spain, but don't understand the logic in including the Canaries. Would love any thoughts or explanations on this. Yeah, Amanda, thanks for the comment. I imagine that when people think of Spain, they have to think of the whole country. Probably too difficult to exclude certain areas. And at the end of the day, I think it's just too confusing to separate certain areas and easier for them just to include everything in the same packet. And that's what they've done. I don't understand the logic, but as we have seen, the Spain tourism minister is trying to negotiate with the UK in order to lessen the quarantine and perhaps exclude those two particular areas that you have mentioned, but it's not going to be easy. One here from Johnny. Hi Stuart, your videos are very informative and useful. I was a TEFL teacher in beautiful Alicante. I fled Spain on one of the last planes available at that time. I was going to return late August, but recently have changed my plans to wait in the UK until January. And hopefully by then life will be a little bit more predictable, possibly dodging another Spanish quarantena. My question is, should I stay or should I go? If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Yeah, Johnny, thanks for the comment. As I have been saying, I don't think there's going to be another lockdown like the one we experienced earlier in the year, but it seems like what they're doing now is the way they are going to handle possible outbreaks in the future, and that means that each autonomous community is going to control the situation. And as we've seen, places like Barcelona with those voluntary lockdowns or other places around Spain, I think that's going to be the trend. And if I were you and you love Alicante so much, I'd hop on a plane and go back, because Alicante is not a bad part of the world. And even if there is some type of quarantine, it's not going to be as strong as the last one. You'll probably still be able to get out and about and enjoy that good weather that you have in that part of the world. So if I was you, that's what I'd do. One here from Simon. Who would have thought a channel about an Aussie living in Spain would turn into a platform for pom bashing? Add to this a mix of comedy, €601,000 fines. It was that 1,000 bit that really made me think twice about ignoring the rules. Politically, Spain has always been a mess with its layers of bureaucracy. A health minister who thinks Spain is safer than the UK made me chuckle, but leaves me no doubt why Spain is in the situation it is with that kind of ineptitude. Scientists are unable to make up their mind about immunity once you have had COVID-19, yet Spain plans an immunity passport in September. Meanwhile, in the UK, Boris is fast-tracking his way out of a job by before the end of next year with his rudderless ship. I love authentic Spain, always avoiding the expat areas like Benidorm, etc. Great videos, but less of the pom bashing. Yeah, Simon, thanks for the comment. For anybody that doesn't know, the word pom or pommy is a word that Australians use to refer to people from England. It's a bit of a derogatory term, and we use it a lot when we talk about sport, especially cricket, and of course pommy whinges. Personally, I don't think a lot of the pommy bashing is coming from me. I think the pommy bashing is coming from a lot of Poms or other people living in the UK, maybe the Welsh, maybe the Scots, and obviously there's a few Spanish people that are bashing the Brits at the moment. And you're right, Spain does have layers and layers of red tape. It is a very difficult country to navigate through. Politicians, as you said, add to that ineptitude, but it does provide us with some entertainment. Want to hear from Jim? Great thing about Spain is that you can go most of the year and have good weather and a good holiday. Yeah, Jim, thanks for the comment. That basically sums it up for a lot of people in the United Kingdom. They're able to come down and get good weather most of the year, especially if you go to places like Andalusia, if you go to places like Valencia, the Canary Islands, the weather is always good. And of course, for a lot of people, good weather, good holiday, which is something that you can't be guaranteed of north of the Pyrenees, unfortunately. And finally, one here from WK. Why do British people come to Spain and continue to holiday like they were in the UK? Nothing Spanish. What about the amazing food, culture, and people? Yeah, WK, thanks for the comment. To be honest, a lot of people do come to Spain from the UK and look for that more authentic Spain. They look for Spanish food, they look for Spanish culture, they try to get a more authentic holiday. However, there are a certain group of people, and this is a characteristic in every country, people that always think that their part of the world is the best part of the world, and even when they go on holiday, they look for things that are familiar to them. For example, food, company, and all of those things that make them feel comfortable. It happens all over the world. It happens in other places in Spain as well. For example, if you go to Mallorca, the Germans have also set up their own little Germany in that part of the world. So it is a characteristic of other peoples as well. And for a lot of people, dealing with a foreign culture is a little bit too daunting. I remember when I first came to Spain, I did find it a little bit hard to deal with, especially going outside and not being able to communicate. And of course, people want to be able to speak their own language. If they can find somebody to do that, and English speakers especially, we love to go to places where people speak our language, and that's one of the reasons why they go to places in Spain where they can do just that, I think. Anyway, on that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. See you in the next one. Hasta luego.